Okay, hi guys. This is Henry Graves here from News for the Blind. I have Jackie Davenport here with me. We're going to talk about some topics of our own choice as well, and mine as well. Jackie, if you want to say a few words?
Hey, how's it going
Well, it depends on where you're listening on this from. To be honest, I mean, like if you're listening from the U.S., you could say it's pretty good. If you're listening from Syria, you could say it's pretty horrible. Um, if you're listening from the UK, you're worried about the next terrorist attack. So, I mean, it depends on what part of the country you're listening about this from. But
Oh yeah.
I am very happy to hear, really.
Excellent. Excellent.
Now, like you and I, we've known each other for okay, it's since like 2005, off and on, almost, right?
Right. Accurate.
Accurate. I think I met you when I was in college at U of H, and do you remember the class that we were taking? It was this is this like college prep class, something like that? It was like the class that make everyone take, no matter like. Go ahead.
Right. It was basically like an introductory class, college preparatory immersion or something to that degree. That everybody basically had to take for a credit, or basically to jumpstart you into the routine that you would need to be in for college.
Yeah, the idea. I think the idea of that class, to be honest, was just to get people to go to class, because, well, I mean, once you kind of got the hang of it, your first like few weeks, you would like stop coming to class. I know once I like the first month of that class, I stopped going, and I just got my friends to just tell me what they did the next day, and I just did the assignment and just moved on. You know, it was literally that easy. And I think all I remember was doing papers and talking to mentors or something. And the whole idea was to get you to be successful as your first year in college. And I think my first year was pretty successful in college. I don't know. How about yours?
I would say so. For me, it was more so just figuring out. The hardest thing for me was just figuring out what I wanted to major in.
Yeah, that's what they said. The first 2 years was for. It didn't take me until I think my end of my fourth year until I knew what I wanted to do. And that was, going up with Africans. I mean, it's, if you're not an engineer, doctor, or a lawyer, you're pretty much wasting your time. so, so they pushed me to do engineering, and I reached the roadblock called calculus, and I just couldn't do it no matter what. I mean, and I'm good at math too. I mean, I'm a math teacher by trade, but I just couldn't do it. So I ended up going to technology, and I was good at that, but I really, really wanted to get my history degree. And I figured I would just get an MBA degree and get a technology concentration as well, and just get that done over with. And I did that. So I kind of got the best of both worlds in that sense.
Yeah.
So I mean, what did you want to go to college for initially? I mean, do you have an idea or?
Well, initially, I didn't have a clue per se. I just wanted to go, and I figured once I got there, I would figure it out. And eventually, I did. It took me about 3 years in before I actually realized what I wanted. Mm-hmm. And during that time, I had my son, so I took a year off, and I worked at a job that I absolutely hated. I said, "Nah, I gotta go back." So I remember my friend, a really good friend of mine from high school, who had told me about a particular program for audio engineering. And so I started going to, I looked into it, and I went ahead and I got the ball rolling on getting enrolled in that school, and going ahead and starting with audio engineering, which is a passion of mine because I love music. So that was kind of my thing.
Now, what kind of music do you enjoy per se? I mean, is rap, hip hop, or?
Well, I enjoy anything before, I'm going to say anything 2000s and before, but preferably raps, 90s era rap.
So you don't.
That's actually some of my favorite.
So you want to go for something like YFN, Lucci, or what's that dude's name? That rap group. I forget. The modern day. I guess what the modern day hip hop they call it these days. Modern day rap. You wouldn't go for that stuff.
We don't call that rap.
So what do you call it then? What do you call it then?
I call it ADHD. That's what that is.
Yeah, I mean, like, because teaching these past 4 years, and I'm done with teaching, but the kids always kept me up to date with what's going on in pop culture and pop music. They used to have songs based on dance moves, the dab, the whip, the nay. I'm like, how could you write an entire song about a dance move? But my God, these rappers did it, and so go ahead.
Well, I don't want to clown too much on the dance songs because what was that? They what did we have? We had the down video dance that was the R. Kelly Step in the Name of Love.
Yeah, it's funny because like when I went to the club last year, they would play that all the time, no matter how old you were. Like even people in there, like God, my boss, because we went one time at work, and we would actually go, and she's like in her almost 50, and she knows all these dance moves. I'm like, I feel so freaking old. I don't even know this crap, But then again, I know how to dance. I literally don't know how to dance.
Well, I can't really. I'm not going to just jump down the throat of the dance songs because they're just made for fun and just for dancing. And those songs have literally been around for forever. Like you will go, they will play "Step in the Name of Love." Mm-hmm. They will play the same songs in rotation, and you'll hear those, and everybody will get up and dance those songs. But still, it's the older songs that were made that everybody dances to. Now you do have the newer stuff like the dab and the whip and nay. You also got the Millie Wop on any block.
Only songs I know about the dance moves like this group called Migos. Look at my dab. You got this dude Salento who did whip Nene, and of course you got this what's it called Hit the Quad. And this other one they did this dude called I forget the guy's name, but the title of it was Juju on the Beat, and the video. I mean, I just find this stuff to be hilarious to me, I mean, and of course, let's get straight. I mean, you are a black female, of course. So what do you think about that? Like, why do you think there are a lot of black females in the rap industry? I'm just wondering.
Well, that's for several different reasons. If you pay attention, rap has been condensed down, first of all. So whereas you had, before in the past, you had a variety of female rappers like Foxy Brown, you had Remy Ma, you had Queen Latifah, MC Light, like you had Missy Elliott, one of my favorites.
Yeah, I love Missy Elliott. Love her.
Yeah, I do too. You had so many women, and a lot of them were killing it. But if you pay attention, even groups, we can say Destiny Child, then you had Sierra, you had Black, you had so many different groups. And then what you've seen over time is it all condensed down to central figures. Like, for example, Nicki Minaj, until Remy Ma came through with that slaughter. But it's got centralized, first of all. You have these particular female artists, and all you hear about is just that one. So, there's several reasons for that. A lot of that has to do with conditioning, the way that society has been pushed and moved, but it's also to maintain a grasp on how the culture will develop. Because when you have, like, for example, you had, like in the past, you've had people like Tupac and free thinkers and everything like that come through, and that's the last thing that you want is somebody that's going to come through and do that. So you have to, the less people you have to manage, the easier it is to control. So that's why you see like a majority of the rappers, they're not that good anymore. They don't provide anything lyrically challenging, and it is what you're seeing right now is, as far as rap goes, you're seeing the minority now become the majority. So whereas this is one aspect of rap, but it's being basically, it's like an overdose of it that you're getting when this is not all that there is.
Yeah, because I mean, I've noticed. I mean, I've never, to be honest, I've never heard anything about Nicki Minaj to this very day. I didn't even know she existed until maybe 2 years ago. And I saw a picture. I'm like, she's not. I mean, beauty. I know beauty is an eye to beholder for everyone, but I'm not looking at her. I don't look at her as someone who's attractive at all. Period. You know, if you say, well, look at her ass. I'm like, yeah, well, you know, that's gonna go away eventually. You know, it's gonna get smaller as she gets older. I mean, she's what, like only a few years older than me. I'm 31, so you know, I know by the time she hits her 40s, you know, it's gonna get smaller. Look at J-Lo, same thing, huh?
I said she got the money for the upkeep, so I think she'll be all right.
No, well, yeah, of course. I mean, a lot of these entertainers. I mean, Mariah Carey, damn near 50, and I know for sure that she has fake implants on her tits. And then you got what's it called? Ivanka Trump, who has so much cosmetic surgery done, and some people are trying to see she's a role model. I'm like, yeah, if you want someone who's gonna look deformed later on in life, I mean, by all means.
But that's also just another example of just not being. Oh, I don't want to say self-hate because you have the right to improve yourself any way that you see fit. But some people, there is what I like to call a sickness behind that, because it's not that it's something that bothers them, that affects them. It's something that has happened outside, normally, you know, the bullying, teasing, just an aggressive type of action. Something traumatic happens normally that forces some of these people to go to some of the extremes because, for example, take Lil' Kim. Little Kim was so beautiful to me back in the day.
Yeah.
And she's had, she's had a lot of work done. You know, she recently had a baby. Congrats to Little Kim on her baby that she had a little while ago. But, you know, she talks about a lot of, she does speak about how in the past, you know, she would get cheated on with lighter skinned women or Puerto Rican women or, you know, just women of a different level of melanation in the skin.
Yeah, I want to talk about that because when I was in college and I took this Black History class, and one thing that they said is that there was discrimination even within the Black community, even going back to slavery. As the lighter your skin were, the more you appeared, quote unquote, more white. Now we know, you know, the whole one drop rule that there will never be. You know, they'll never be considered white. But, you know, that led to some blacks want to, you know, bleach their skin in the case of Michael Jackson or try to make themselves, you know, look more white. Like Beyonce, I'm going to be flat out honest with you. The only reason Beyonce is attractive across multiracial lines is because she looks like could be passed off as a mixed person. Am I right?
To me, no.
No? Okay.
To me, she doesn't look like she could pass for somebody who's mixed. She's very much a black woman. You know, just the pure essence of her.
Then why she keep dyeing her hair?
You know, I could never get her mistaken for somebody who is mixed race. And from the time that she's been younger all the way up to now, I've only seen a black woman.
But then why does she keep on wearing extensions and dyeing her hair different colors, especially blonde?
Well, you got to remember, we got an island in the Solomon Islands. We got, you know, an island full of black people with black skin and blonde hair. So it's not that it's not unique to us. You know, that literally everybody on that island in the Solomon Islands, they have blonde hair and brown skin, and some of them have blue eyes, different color eyes. This is an island full of black people. Those traits are not. Exclusive to whites only.
True. I mean, in my case, you've seen me. Would you say I'm light skinned or like? I don't know. Like, I know I'm light. Yeah.
I would say you're brown.
Yeah, like you said. My mom is very light. Her grandmother was very, very light. And of course, these things get passed down. My genetic code is like 10% Jewish and 10% white and 80% Igbo. So, based on that DNA, you know, but I still have a lot of recessive traits, you know. But if you go back to the Africa, you see all these different pigmentation. There's this myth that all Africans are dark as hell, and that is not true. I mean, even in my own dad's family, you know, he had to have what eight brothers and sisters, and they're all different pigmentations and different melanin, and it's really we're right there on the freaking equator. So, I mean, it's like it's just I don't know what the root, you know, of all that variations, but.
Well, that's the effect of colonization and the whole skin color, the variations of it, and you know, there was a certain point in time on the planet where we did not classify ourselves by the hue in our skin.
Yes.
You know, you identified. Even now, you know, if you go to some other countries, like for example, a Muslim country, they will identify themselves first by their religious affiliation. So I'm a Muslim, and then you know, then normally they'll do something like the area where they're from, or another identifying factor, but they don't identify by the hue that is in their skin. They identify normally by the religion and location.
I know what you mean because, like, I mean, obviously I came from Nigeria over here in '95 when I was 9, and you know, a black person called me black. I was like, what are you talking about? You know, like, I'm from Orji Maduro Umbanu, African Igbo. That's what I identify as my tribe. Now, you know, I know the British when they came over here, you know, and I have my own theories on this one, but they came in and they literally divided and classified everyone by skin color. And, you know, this is very similar to the caste system in India, in my opinion, because you have the whites who were on top of the colonial period. Then you had, you know, the brown people, Indians, viewed as also lesser, but still above the black. Then you had the Indians, the reds as well. Then you have the so-called blacks. But, you know, obviously no one is really that skin color. I mean, I've never met an actual quote-unquote white person who looks like the color white. And correct me if I'm wrong, in art, black and white are not even colors. Am I right? I mean,
well, they're colors based on what we can see within a certain spectrum. But the problem is we say we don't want to be grouped or classified, and then the first thing we go and do is group and classify. So I identify as an indigenous American, and I do that for very particular reasons. You know, first of all, like you said, a lot of it had to do with the way that colonization and the way that happened, and people don't even realize, like, you got a lot of American black people that are actually indigenous to this continent, and they think that they're African. Like, the numbers don't even make sense.
Of course not, yeah, because I mean they can't go back. I mean, no offense, they just can't. I mean, you know, you probably know about the history of Liberia, right? You know, they had these American Colonization Society set aside the little territory of Liberia, put the blacks there, but then when they went there, they saw how different they were from the Native Africans, and they literally created two societies: one African American, one Native African, and they introduced all this literally segregation, literally the same things that was incorporating the South. Two different societies for two different people.
And I'll do you one even better. It's not even the same group of people. You had Africans that were taken from Africa, yes, but it wasn't anywhere near it. Like, what is the number? 11 or 14 million, somewhere in between there? Mm-hmm. There's absolutely no way. First of all, the ships could only hold up to 600 people. So you got crew, you have supplies that are being taken. The journey took at least 3 months. You can't take all of the slaves up at the same time, because then you pose a security risk because people have to go to the bathroom. Mm-hmm. You know, you would have it's too many problems with that theory. It took too long to get there. The boats could only take so many people. Several people died on the way there. So the people that they actually went ahead and they enslaved were the American Indians. A lot of black people don't realize you're natural, native, indigenous Indians. You just been told you're from Africa. You have, and that's why nobody from Africa claims you or will come to get you. Because if you took 14 million people from one place, I'd be coming back to get my people for several different reasons. There would have been no way that type of exodus would have even happened had I been had I had any type of political power or king or queen in Africa, it just wouldn't have happened.
Well,
That's your entire population.
Well, yeah, but the thing there is that even before the white man came in, when I honestly say the white man, I know the slave ships were run by Jews. That is not even a lie. It's very even the ADL acknowledged that's true. But even before the whites and Jews came in with these slave ships, you also had Arabs running. They were the first one running the slave trade up and down the East Coast, literally down the Red Sea, down the Horn of Africa, all the way down there, and because all these wars that are going on, and they sold their own people as part. I wouldn't say sold them, but they were more captured. From what my own history tells me, that they were actually captured. Go ahead.
Yeah, the Arab slave trade was just as brutal as the slave trades to the Americas, if not worse, and it still continues to this day. The treatment of the African people and the descendants that are in Arab lands. So yes, the Arab slave trade was horrible, and you still have that goes on today. It never stopped.
Yes, and yet still not a lot of blacks will actually even demand reparations from the Arabs for their role in the slave trade. Now, I understand, yes, slavery was. I mean, what's your take on reparations, on this whole idea of reparations based on what happened during slavery? Do you think?
Well, you can ask for reparations all day and all night, but we all know that that's not going to happen.
So what do you think about those that say that it actually all this welfare blacks are getting that's a form of reparations?
Well, I would say stop focusing on the reparation itself and look at fighting for your indigenous rights. Because once you have your indigenous rights, then you can move. That's a whole nother ball field right there that overrides reparations.
I like that because there's this one meme I posted a few years ago about you had this one short guy and this one tall guy. Three of them. One short, one medium, one tall, and they wanted equality. Okay, so they gave each of them, the three people, the short guy one stool, the medium guy one stool, and the tall guy one stool. They each got equal parts, but only the tall guy could see over the fence. Okay, so they said, well, that's not really right. Why don't we make it a case of justice? So we give the short guy the most so he can see over the fence, and then give the medium guy the second most so he can also see over the fence, and give the tall guy nothing because he can already see over the fence. And that's always been my take. Like, if it's gonna be, it should be about justice first, then equality. Because if you talk about equality, that doesn't exist in nature. I don't know about you, but last I checked, I mean, you can literally be born in the same how I put this, like you can be born in the same country, okay, and go to the same school, but we know you're not equal because the other person has slightly more opportunity than you do.
Drastically more.
Yes.
You see it all the time. It's a drastic. It's day and night. You have certain groups that can go to jail, get out, they can get a better job with no criminal record and a college degree.
Yeah, and that's funny because in the United States, in different states, it's like it applies differently because each state really does have their own interpretation of what should be done in terms of equal protection under the law. This whole idea of the due process clause, the equal clause actually exists. A lot of Americans are under this misguided belief the Constitution actually means something. And it's a piece of paper. Even George Bush said himself, it's just a piece of paper.
Yeah, but like it's been proven before, people like the idea of freedom, but they don't truly want freedom. People like the idea of equality, but they don't really actually want equality. They like these ideas and the principles, and they like to claim them and say, "Hey, this is what we stand for." But when you just look across the board, everybody lazy as hell. Like, society has been conditioned to a point where it's just fakeness. It's fake outrage, fake anger. Everything's fake. up until it's time to actually get up and really, really do something. And when I say really do something, I don't mean just protesting. I mean shutting it down.
I very much agree because I saw this post by this friend of mine, Rightus or Brutus or whatever, on Facebook. He's saying that people should ban forces, all these truthers, and I'm like, I was just sitting back and laughing. I'm like, you guys can't even agree on what the hell is your truth. So how are you gonna band together for shit? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, because I told them because they wanted me to join them, man. I joined that 9/11 Truth Movement crap, and I realized very quickly that they didn't really believe in all the truth. It was just only truth that was convenient to them. I'm like, this whole idea about flat Earth, that's really a waste of time. That's not good. That's not how you're gonna do. I mean, it's kind of injustice. Yeah, the Earth is flat. I'm like, so what? What happens afterwards? Or these same idiots who are saying, well, 9/11 it was inside job. I'm like, you can't say inside job. You have to say it was done by Jews and white Freemasons and Israel. You have to literally say the entire picture, or else you really are misleading the people. So it's only, I guess, a partial truth is not real truth to me. I mean, what do you say?
I agree. You're only getting parts and pieces, and I don't care whether people think the Earth is flat or they think it's round. Personally, I think it's a circle, like everything else in the universe is a circle. Hell, my eyes even have a circular connotation to them. So even my eyes are curved. The iris is curved. The eyes themselves have a curve to it. Yes, so I'm presuming if that's the case, probably those circles are actually circles.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, it's all about symmetry and asymmetry. I mean, because I don't know. I mean, the gods of our ancestors, they were very particular about the way things were designed. They also believed in the way the way the sun traveled, and we were very particular about that. And that's why this whole thing about the Earth being flat is just a joke, because it literally defies science itself. I mean, just everything that our own ancestors knew thousands of years ago is now defied because you guys think that, to me, it's all about, how I put this in a way that's not, well, who gives a fuck anyways? Look, the point of the matter is, the flat earth crap is all about a bunch of people who are religious. That's just the flat earth, the truth of the matter. The whole idea is the all four corners of the earth. I'm like, and? So what? That's the four corners of the earth they knew about in the Bible. And that was only in the freaking Mesopotamia region. That's it. So it's like...
And I'll do you one even better. Until you actually take control of... until you actually sit back and take control and take people out of power that are in power, you still won't ever actually know. So,
exactly.
Again, fake outrage.
exactly. Like, all these people who are mad about, the Israel camp, you guys can actually do something. I mean, you can actually, in your own private life, boycott everything that they do. Of course, living off the grid is super, super hard, but it can be done. I got this friend of mine, Carrick Walter, who does it. Don't know how he does it, but he literally does it himself. I can't do it because I've grown accustomed to the luxuries I admit that Western society has, because I've always been a city kid. And for me, I'll literally have to just really just deconstruct my entire being. It can be done. It's just at this point of my life, I've become so conditioned myself, and that's why it's hard for me to lead people like some people want me to.
And that's what you're dealing with. Nobody's going to want to change their comfort. Like, everybody's comfortable. But some of us we can't get comfortable with lies, with falsehoods. So when it comes down to it, you have to decide if you're comfortable, if you're okay with it. And if it's fine, that's fine. But don't pretend to be fake outrage. Like me, I tell people all the time, I will not die for you. I'm not going down. I'm not putting my life on the line for you. For this fake outrage, like, you're not gonna see me doing certain things. Yeah, because when I sit back and I look at what's happened to all your so-called saviors, come on, all of them got slaughtered. and you're still not halfway doing, and you're still halfway doing what they even asked you to do. And the only thing they asked you to do is demonstrate love and compassion.
Well, that's what Jesus says right in the Bible. But to this very day, I don't really see much Christians doing that. In fact, I'll tell you a story because this happened to me last week. A friend of mine, well, so-called friend of mine, I don't know. She's a black female in the church. She's got this boyfriend who's a preacher. He said to her for her to block me on Facebook because he didn't like that I was laughing at her posts, where she was basically saying, "Thank God for this wonderful day today." I was laughing because you're thanking God for something you did yourself. I mean, you had a positive mindset. You were determined to have a good day, and you had a good day. And you're just and I was just laughed at that. The so-called reactions you can do on Facebook. So he gets intimidated by it, and I'm like, well, obviously you're not intimidated by what I did. You're intimidated more that I could show your girlfriend the truth about these religions, these false gods, and she'll finally begin to see herself that it's all a joke. That literally everything she's accomplished is due to her own hard work. I mean, but I don't know. You go ahead. I mean, because you have an interesting take on religion because you actually minored like me in religious studies in college.
Yeah, I did. And what I've come to learn is that no matter what, if someone believes, it's like that saying: if you believe you can, you can. If you believe you can't, you can't. Either way, you're right. So what that means is, if you believe in any of the Abrahamic religions, Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and you believe that with your whole mind and heart, then yeah, it is true. It absolutely isn't. If you believe, that you'll go to hell, if you sin and commit blasphemies and all other types of atrocities, and you believe that if you repent and claim Jesus as your Lord and Savior, or if you follow the teachings of Muhammad, or if you stay focused in the Old Testament and the Torah, and you go by those guides that, hey, it's going to work out in your favor in the afterlife, then yes, it is true, because that's what you believe to be true. Truth is only what you believe it to be. And that was what man's true religion is. Truth.
Exactly, and
that's what you're going to hold on to, and that's what you're going to acclimate to.
Yeah, because my biggest thing, because I was raised in the Christian church, and though it was done against my will, one of my biggest issues I always had was by the time I think I was 13 or 14 at the time, I went to tell my pastor. He said, he told me anything you're doing that's taking away from worshiping God is a sin. I'm like, then we're sinning every second of the day. He said, exactly. So if you're not living your life for the glory of Him, you are living, a lie. I'm like, wait a minute though. All these Christians don't live like Jesus did. I don't see Christians taking all their possessions and giving it to the poor. I don't see them taking them from their own personal bank accounts and giving it to those who don't have anything. So my issue is that if you're supposed to be like Christ, why aren't they like Christ? I mean, this seems like to me then the whole religion seems to be based on a facade of living up to standards that can never be achieved. So then why strive for something you can never be?
The imperfect perfection. What you're looking at is basically, people have said it before. I'd just be beating a dead horse by saying it's just another mechanism for control, for mental control. I mean, even when you think about it, if you were to type in God on Google, you're still going to pull up one specific thing, and you're going to see images of one particular person. And the problem is people don't actually research what they believe in. Because if they actually looked at the Bible, which is derived from the Greek word the Biblios, which means the sacred books. Mm-hmm. So the Biblios means the sacred books. And what happens with books? When you go into a library, how are those books categorized?
That by genres or by last names and so forth.
Exactly. So different books are classified in different genres. So what happens when you go and you read poetry, or if you read, what happens when you go and you read inspirational for nonfiction? What happens when you go and read a fictional book and believe that it belongs in the truth section, the nonfiction section? You get discombobulated and confused. Secondly, you have to look at translations.
Mm-hmm.
It was not translated properly. So you're still not reading it correctly because you don't know, you haven't taken the time to go sit down and learn Greek, Arabic, or any of the other original languages that it was transferred from. Thirdly,
Yeah, of course.
You didn't even pay attention to the date and cross-reference other books at that time, other authors.
There's a book that I read called. There's a book that I read called the Bible Unearthed that basically debunks the entire Old Testament. I've always, when I read the Bible for myself, literally with an unbiased mind when I was 13, and I saw, wait a minute, because I came up to this part of the Second Chronicles where King Josiah says, we found the book of law. I'm like, what do you mean you found the book of law? This last chapter, you're talking about you obeying the laws. Now you're talking about you found it? And I'm like, wait a minute. So then that really made me very skeptical. And I really went back myself and I read this book called The Bible Unearthed. And ironically, it was written by like two Jews. So, they can't call it anti-Semitic for whatever reason they want to do. But once I read...
to keep in mind that the Bible is still a coded book.
It is.
It's a coded book, so I don't want to sit here and say that, it doesn't have some truth to it. There are actually some very interesting truths that it has in it.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. The book of Ecclesiastes.
Go ahead, I'm sorry?
No, the book of Ecclesiastes. They have some good books there. Like, it's a good book of literature altogether. It's well written. I don't believe for a second that the story of Samson happened. Because he had long hair, he was able to have all this strength. A lot of it was folklore and myth, based on things that did happen, and some things that, it was, literally, fabricated to make, the people, the Israelites, look good as we're this mighty people, fighting against all these enemies around us, just like Israel, claims to be doing it in the West Bank. With these mighty desert people fighting against the Palestinians, though the Palestinians don't have any weapons.
The truth is stranger than fiction because they actually did tests. I forget whether it was World War I or World War II, where they got the Native Americans. They enlisted the Native Americans because they had very special skills. And when they forced them to cut their hair, I forgot what the skill was. I have to go back and pull it up. But it was something very specific that would aid the U.S. in the war. And when they had them cut their hair, they could not replicate the skill.
Now, I have a question. Like on the issue of the world wars, like, do you think the United States actually fought the right enemy in that war?
Well, this is my thing with which one, World War I or World War II?
The second one, the Second World War.
Okay, so did America fight the right enemy? Do we ever fight the right enemy? Since the country's inception, we have been in war. I think it's only been 44 years, possibly, from the time America was founded up until today, that it has not actually been in war. So war has always been perpetuated as a part of the culture.
Oh, definitely. It's almost. The nation was founded by Freemasons, anyways. I wrote about this called the Converted Nation. I talk about Canada and the United States. It really does only serve to do the bidding of Jews and Masons. That's it. That's literally it. It's not a coincidence. The nation is always finding new excuses to go to war with someone. It doesn't matter who it is.
So to say, I'm pretty sure there are some enemies out there, but I think they're few and far in between, just based on the power, the structure, the setup, the technology. The U.S. has a very, very powerful infrastructure when it comes to its citizens. Because, most planning is pretty much done. Most everything has to do with propaganda. Like, I can go to any other country and I'm going to see things that show America in a bad light. I come to America, I'm going to see things that show other countries in a bad light. At the end of the day, everybody's being fed something different, but it's up to us to make sure that we understand what's going on.
Exactly. I mean, I'm not trying to hide my admiration of the Third Reich at all. Period. I mean, I share literally the same birthday as Adolf Hitler, and people say, "Well, that's just that could be a sign of something for you to lead your people." I'm like, well, I mean, it's just an occurrence, maybe a coincidence of some kind, you know. But I personally thought that they were actually they were really fighting the enemy of communism, and supposedly that's what the Americans said they were fighting against. But at the same time, I know that the ones who control both sides, the shekels that control both sides, always find themselves the winner in the end. What do you say about that?
I would say this.
Mm-hmm.
I find it very difficult I always check my history.
Yeah.
And you always have to look further into things, because how can you tell me that, what happened during World War II was horrible, that's a result of war. Mm-hmm. Death is a part of that, period. No way around it. However, when you're financing the war for this against your own people, now I got to take a second look. What's really going on? Because Hitler, he did what he did, but you also have the Jews here that funded him and continue to fund him. You had George Bush's his great grandfather,
yes,
Prescott Bush.
Yeah, Prescott Bush.
Who also funded Hitler.
Masons, they're both Masons.
You brought in a lot of the technology from Germany. You wanted to get your hands on what they had, so you brought in a lot of the technology, brought in a lot of their scientists, you brought them over here for safekeeping after the war.
Yes, and you said earlier yourself that war is horrible. My issue has always been, yes, many people died in World War II. No doubt. I mean, Chinese, Russians, British, French. That war has literally caused a lot of the problems we have today. And yet, for some reason, the Jewish suffering takes the most, the most stage, really, for the world to see. With the Holocaust worship we see every day. I mean, they say 6 million of them died. I'm like, okay, well, fine, 6 million died. What about the millions more Chinese who died? What about those people? What about the Vietnamese who died? What about the Africans who died? Why is it that their suffering requires everyone else to bow down to their suffering versus everyone else?
Because the victors write the history.
Yes, well, yes, they won, and yes, they won. I agree, and they're winning right now. Right now, what's going on in Syria? With Trump actually trying to bomb, he's probably going to bomb them again, anyways, because he says that they're planning another chemical attack. Assad is. Yeah, even the military themselves said we don't have any evidence about this. So just looking for any excuse to drop bombs to distract people from what's going on.
In my opinion, it would be the induction of World War III, but I don't know that would be a very wise thing to do. Like I said, the country's always going to be at some type of war, but because of the technology that we have today, it would be very foolish to try to do a wide-scale world war.
Yes, because my theory has always been we're actually in a current world war as it is right now. I believe that happened after the Cold War, and that's why you have these small, I won't say battles. You have the so-called Western world fighting against ISIS. Yet they also fund and created ISIS at the same time. You also have my issue has always been with the American people and the lack of how to put this. Just they don't give a fuck. They really don't, because it's like, well, it's over there. I'm like, yeah, it's over there because your government keeps it over there. So, because then if it comes over here, there'll be a rightful outrage.
Yeah, exactly. But, it's a bad idea to come off the majority of the
It's just really awful. What's what happens. I mean, so I want to ask you about the Trump case. I mean, you being obviously a what you call black or African American woman. Which one? I mean, indigenous, right?
Say that again, I couldn't hear you.
No, you say you wanted to be called it as an indigenous American, right?
Correct.
Okay, so what do you take about all this? This whole Trump versus Hillary, and then what's happening afterwards with the whole so-called investigation and the healthcare debacle. Do you think it's all distractions, or yeah?
It's the same problems that have yet to have been solved, and and these are going to be issues that continue to get passed down to the next president, the next one. No one's going to actually fix it. Because if you fix it, then nobody has anything to argue about, and people start paying attention, perking up. You know what I mean? They start to actually pay attention. Oh, well, we didn't know that this could work this way. Of course you didn't know, because you're presented with selected options. Either way,
yeah.
Either way, your option was selected for you.
I remember that, yeah, because 3 days ago, this one white dude came on CNN crying that when they get rid of Obamacare, he'll have nothing. I'm like, that's literally the definition of a white idiot right there. Like, you voted in a rich white guy who cares nothing about you, by the way. Nothing about you. He doesn't look at you as say, oh, well, these are my white people. No, he says literally it's rich versus poor, and it doesn't matter if you're a poor white, you can go to hell. That's why all these cuts are happening. And I'm like, you idiots! Like, for them, they thought Trump is about racialism. No, he's not. He's about rich versus poor. And if you're a poor white, he doesn't care. If you're poor black, he doesn't care. So that's why I was just laughing, like, the stupidity. Like, you went and voted for him thinking about this crap, Make America Great Again. Yet you're going to sacrifice your own, whatever's left of your own freedoms. For what? I mean, what the hell did you gain in the end? A wall? A wall in Mexico?
Possibly a solar wall.
Yeah, well,
but you know what? Every time I hear stories like that, I literally just sit back and think what I want to eat for the day. Do I wanna go get a fresh salad with kale? That's the thought that goes through my head every time I see those stories. What you want to eat today?
Yeah, well, you're very lucky because maybe I have 1 or 2 meals a day if I'm lucky, and I'm first because I work in the media, so I literally get bombarded with this stuff all the time in my email, and I'm like, I just laugh. Like when I post it, I just put an LOL and be right beside him, like, yeah, well, just a good laugh, That's just a good laugh. But let's talk about food because this is something you're very good about is nutrition and your workout regimen, right?
Right.
So, I mean, can you tell us what really motivated you to get into this? I mean, it wasn't obviously by accident. I mean, you're really very good at this, though.
Well, the biggest thing just has to be with it's always just been a part of me since I've been in school. Literally from the time I was in elementary on up, I was always involved in some type of athletic activities, and really kind of what prompted the actual focus and to sit down and develop my obsession with nutrition and health and just health. I'm gonna say health because I'll break it down in a little bit. But what fueled my obsession was after I had my kid. I started sitting back and I started paying attention to all the things that food could do. So the first thing I did was sat down and I put in my head, it took me several months of just visualizing how much in pain I was going to be, how much I was going to want to quit. And over that time, every time in my head I quit, I eventually programmed my brain to think, okay, this is how it's going to feel. I'm going to feel like this, but I'm going to get up and do it again the next day. So after months and months of programming myself mentally, then I got up and did it, and I just never stopped. So during that process, I decided, like I said, I've done several different types of sports, but I decided to go into bodybuilding simply because it was a very tough sport. It's extremely hard. and it's something that I felt like would challenge me, and I have not stopped since. And when you start looking at bodybuilding and how nutrition actually works, oh, you have to eat a certain way. You literally have to weigh your food. You have to keep track of what you're eating. And people say, well, why do you keep track of how many calories you eat? Well, first of all, calorie is a unit of measurement.
Exactly.
So when something says 150 calories, that's what you're consuming, and that is a unit of energy. So is that going to be all processed food? Because really, there's no value in it. So now you're consuming useless energy is going to go and accumulate all over your body. Every single where on your body is going to accumulate because you're not using the energy expenditure that you have to cut it down. And with that, you start putting visceral fat around your organs, which is horrible. You start to develop problems, which lead to diabetes, insulin sensitivity, and cancer. Cancer thrives off of, and this is what people don't realize. When cancer thrives, it's because your body is more acidic. Now, the thing with cancer is it's the food that you are consuming is stripping your body of the foods and deteriorating you from the inside out. So what happens is those cancer cells are pulling all the nutrients from the food, and the irony is you're literally starving to death. That's why you see those cancer patients, they lose weight, they lose the integrity in their muscle mass and things like that. They literally are starving to death.
No, you're absolutely right because I mean, in my case, I am a diabetic, and if I have more of a positive outlook on life, I would try to beat my condition because it's easily beatable. I mean, I have grown more nihilistic as life has gone by because I know that's the curse about knowledge. You know a lot, and you don't really feel like there's much hope in things, and I have seen, in my case, like, my appetite is nowhere near it was when I would say even about, 5, 6 years ago. I would be able to eat a whole lot of foods, because, eating really African food, that's why I would eat it, whole bowl of jollof rice, can't even do that anymore, except for, I set in front of me a whole bunch of different kinds of food, I couldn't even eat it today. Just ate like maybe what I eat. I only was able to eat corn dog and a taco. That was it. And drank water. That was it. I was just like, wow, I'm really full. So my appetite is going down, so I'm losing weight. But at the same time, my condition is still bad because I'm not really taking the other. Yes, exactly. I mean, exactly. People that have this myth because I'm a diabetic, I can't eat a lot of stuff. But I can eat. I can still eat the same stuff. I just have to be careful about how much of it I eat, or I can't just gorge down on a smoothie king smoothie. That's all sugar, all sugar, and I stay away from McDonald's like the plague myself. I just can't. I just can't do it. I just can't do it because even in the morning, drinking a freaking latte makes me sick. And
you'd be surprised about the things that are in a lot of these foods. So I try to, I actually look at the labels and the ingredients, and if it's something that I'm not familiar with, I try to go and research it. Because when you got to keep in mind, a lot of these fast food places, there have been people that have ran independent tests, and they found human DNA in the meat.
Ugh.
Human DNA. So, you can go into YouTube. Anybody who wants to look further into this, you can go on YouTube and you can actually go and see the videos. And there have been independent companies that are not affiliated with, like, say, a major fast food chain that have ran tests and that have found human DNA in the meat. Because, you just have to think of it on a logistics scale. There aren't that many damn cows to feed that many people every single day of the week.
And I've actually eaten. I used to eat at Wendy's, and it never tasted right. It just never tastes. I'm not cannibal, of course. I'm not cannibal. Just it doesn't taste right. The meat, even the chicken isn't even real. I know the chicken nuggets in McDonald's not even real meat at all. Period. And that they would admit it themselves. It's not even real
Right.
meat. So, end of the day, I mean, what can people actually eat in this society? As things have gone up in terms of just the basic groceries these days.
Well, the truth is, really, the smartest thing to do is to find organic seeds and to honestly grow your own garden. That's the only way to truly know what you're growing. And I mean, even then, you still have to be careful because seeds, like for example, from a GMO crop, can blow and can be carried in the wind. Not saying that this is going to happen to everybody, but there have been cases where farmers, they have their farm and GMO seeds fly into their crop and contaminate their crop. So at the end of the day, unless you grow it yourself, you just never really know what's in it. But if a good rule of thumb is if you go into the grocery store, you see something that's a little bit more expensive, research it, see why it is more expensive. Because normally, 9 times out of 10, there's another process that has to happen in order for you to receive that food, which is why it costs a little bit more.
But you see, that's the thing that gets me upset in society because the cost of living is getting higher and higher due to inflation, due to usury interest rates, and you have a family to feed, so you go for the cheaper stuff, and
There have been times I've had to do that. So, but like I said, for me it's a little bit easier because I am a competitive bodybuilder. I go and I weigh my food, I measure it. So I'm only eating 3 to 4 ounces of meat each and every meal. So that's all I'm eating every single meal is 3 to 4 ounces of meat, and then a cup to 2 cups of vegetables, and more than likely I'm eating at least 2 cups. There have been times, I went a month and a half eating vegetables only, and that was 1 time a day. So it got to a point where I just wasn't hungry, so I just started to eat the vegetables, and I consumed plant protein. So during the time that I consumed the plant protein, because you can get your protein from plants, it's a misconception that animal protein is the only protein. It's not. Animals eat plants. That's how they get the protein.
Yes.
You're eating the byproduct of what they ate. So I've eaten the plant protein and I consumed that, and over that month and a half of me just eating that, I got a whole lot stronger. I was much more focused. I had much more clarity. I slept better. But like I said, the things that I do are not meant for everybody, and I have a specific reason why I implement certain things at certain times.
Well, what is your height? Are you like 5 feet tall?
I'm 5'1".
Okay, close enough. Because I'm 6'3". So you look like almost twice your height. Yeah, but that's really good. Now, what kind of plants and vegetables do you eat? Like, is it specific kind?
Yeah. Majority of what I try to consume is kale because kale is a natural testosterone booster. Okay. So that helps me out with some of my heavier lifts. Now, keep in mind, I said testosterone for a reason because women also have testosterone in the body. And believe it or not, when you menstruate, you actually have more testosterone in your body. So you're actually stronger during the time that you're menstruating. So that would be the time I used to go to the gym, work out, and hit heavier weights. And it'll actually help alleviate those cramps and help you feel better. Now, men, just naturally, you're going to want to consume that because a lot of the products have hormones added. And those hormones that are added into the food cause a feminizing effect.
Oh yeah, so especially with the kids these days.
and I'm gonna give your audience something to check out.
Yeah.
Go into YouTube and you can type in something to the effect of taking testosterone or transitioning on testosterone, and just take a look at what testosterone does to somebody who's going through a transgender process. So, for example, look at a female who is transitioning into a male, and look what testosterone does over a period of time. So, I literally saw a woman go from looking like a woman. She cut her hair out. She looked more like a stud, but still a lesbian. And literally transitioned into a handsome young man. Like, if I just didn't see the transition when I looked, I would have initially thought, "Oh, okay, this is a nice looking young man."
Now, was she white or black, or her race?
No, it was actually someone who was white.
Now, a friend of mine told me, like, when it comes to between the different races, like, it's much easier to tell a black girl from a black guy, even when their hair chopped off, because they still have these certain features. Does that still change even with the dieting of the eating of the specific foods, or?
Well, I'll put it to you like this: it has to do with bone structure, because you still can't change bone structure. Like the size of the skull in comparison with the length and width of the arms, legs, torso. You have different ratios from head to body from men and women.
Indeed.
So you can't change the bone structure. That's why, there always will be something a little off about anybody who's going through a transitioning process. But what I was saying was the pictures of this particular individual, the angles and everything, you could not tell. Now, when you took a look at the full body, the shoulders looked smaller, and there was a slight, it was something a little, just a little, she didn't really have Lord, forgive me, he didn't really have any. He had like kind of a slight curve, but just the way that the body was positioned, he looked like he was successful in his transition on TV. So all that to say, once you go and you look at what these chemicals do, why don't men understand that when you're consuming these foods, it's having the same effect on you? And think about it, a lot of men have been eating a certain way for years. You don't even realize you've taken on the feminine characteristics.
Yeah, and I saw myself as a teacher with teaching black kids, black boys, with the whole sucking up the teeth, smacking the lips when they don't like something. I'm like, okay, but I was like, guys don't do that. Maybe they pout, but they don't do the sucking of the teeth and smacking the lips. All the nonsense. That's like a female attitude kind of deal,
Yeah.
I never see that with the Latino boys though, ever.
Yeah. Well, and this is the thing. Like I said, that's why you have to be aware of what you're putting into your body. So things like kale, that's a natural testosterone booster, and that's great for men and women to take because we both have different levels of testosterone. So it's as far as your hormones go, selectively choosing when to throw them off balance, but you really don't want those off balance. You want to try to mitigate a lot of the effects that you're intaking now. So asparagus is another good one, and you can actually, if you say, for example, if you boil your asparagus, if you take the water from when you boil the asparagus, you can actually, it tastes like a tea. You can add like some honey or stevia to it, or what is the other one called? I can't think of it right now. It's on the tip of my tongue. But you can add a natural sweetener to it as well. And agave, that's what it is. You can add some agave to it, and it tastes like a tea. And what's going to happen is it will literally work as a natural diuretic. So it'll flush your system. You're gonna urinate a lot, but it's gonna work as a natural diuretic, and that's something that you can do maybe once or twice a week. So there are so many benefits to eating certain vegetables. Spinach is another one that I eat heavily. What is it? Zucchini is one. Squash is another one. If you don't like those, that's fine. You can stick to the Subway thick Subway. Because I know a lot of people, don't like to experiment, but I eat for results. I don't eat for taste anymore.
Okay, so yeah, you just got used to the way it tastes, though, I guess.
I want to for taste.
Yeah. Yeah, because I remember we went out a couple days ago, and you do not even eat anything outside. You prep all your meals.
Yeah.
So what do you drink then? Just water only?
Normally, for the most part, it's water.
Okay.
But during a workout, I will drink like some BCAAs or a vitamin and mineral blend.
Okay.
But one thing that I do love to drink is Dr. Sabi's bromide powder. And that's because it has 96 out of, either 102 or 106 minerals that are needed for the body. And you have to think about it. Chemically, vitamins are important, but chemically, minerals are much more important because that's what the body starts to take first.
Yes.
Like potassium, magnesium. A lot of people are deficient in these, iodine.
Yes, a friend of mine, Laura Howard, she would tell me that she takes magnesium to boost her energy levels, and it does wonders for her from that. I mean, typically for me, because I stay so busy, I don't even notice because I don't sleep much anyway. So it's like,
right.
Yeah.
But Dr. Sabi's bromide powder,
yes.
I remember the first time I drank it, I literally went to sleep and I had like the craziest, most vivid dream. It was like being on LSD and stuff. And then I woke up and literally, I woke up, my alarm went off, but I happened to be off that day. So I turned my alarm off. I went back to sleep and picked up right where I left off in the dream. It was great.
Oh, wow.
Never had that happen.
Well, you're lucky. I mean, in my case, my dreams are nightmares because my grandmother haunts me in my dreams. And that's a long. I actually wrote about it on my website, Seeing Through Dreams, how she torments me because I'm not living my life the way she raised me to be. And that's itself is a long story. As
Huh? Have you ever thought that maybe it's not necessarily her? Maybe it's because a lot of times it's psychological as well. Because I know that you've described some of the things that you've endured over your lifetime, and a lot of that's a lot of emotional scarring.
Yeah, the way when I was actually locked up in the Harris County Psychiatric Center, they actually they had these stupid group meeting crap. I told her I refused to go to it because it's a joke. Because all you guys talk about is how to cope with stuff, and that's all they talked about the whole time. I was like, look, I know how to cope with crap. I just don't deal with it. Unfortunately for me, I kind of reached a breaking point, I want to say in 2015. And by then, I just had to just start writing stuff. So on my website, I just wrote on my personal narratives about just everything. I wrote my poetry. I write my music. That's why I don't listen to music anymore because I just write my own music. I don't care. I write my own music and stuff. So that's kind of how I deal, because energy-wise, I don't deal with people who are negative. That's why I don't talk to my parents because they literally, like, anytime I talk to them, there's never something good that happens. Always some kind of, like I'm like, she's like, I like this part about your life or something. I'm like, eventually you get tired of hearing that kind of crap. So I really believe in positive energy like you do. I am naturally a positive person. I'm just very antisocial and asocial, which is very strange to have like 5,000 Facebook friends. Because they add me, I don't add anyone at all. I mean, like, seriously. So.
Well, you'd be surprised. Like I told you, all things like to be in balance.
Yes.
So even though you try to separate yourself, you still have things that force you to be in balance. Because you have to find the good and the positive. Like me, it's very, I have my moments where, stuff gets to me, but overall, there's no, if I choose to put my mind to something, I'm going to absolutely smash it, kill it, and there will be no other outcome other than what I deem it to be, and that's going to be a great outcome. And that's how I approach everything. Every person that you meet, every encounter, every experience, it is not by accident. It is by grand design. And you have to choose how these different energies, because, when you start to look at people as energy, you get can actually think about it differently and address it differently. So when you start to look at these different energies, because energy works multidimensionally, different platforms, different areas, what's seen, what can't be seen, different types of slopes, different types of scale. Energy is another unit of measurement which has measurable outcomes. But keep in mind there are some things that we cannot measure because we're not at that stage to where we can utilize it. But essentially, all that to say, when you start looking at the energy people have put out towards you and how that energy has affected you and how it changes your energy pattern, your thought pattern, because thoughts emit frequency. Frequency is energy. Frequency can be picked up and measured, so therefore it can be transferred. So that means your thoughts can be transferred. So that means other people's thoughts and feelings can impact you in a way if you don't have, depending on your experience and also depending on how well protected you are as a person. So what you have to do is build your mind up, guard your mind, protect it, but you also have to understand that everything happens, whether it's good or bad. It is up to us to determine how we will let those energies interact with us. I've had, as much as I like to think, all the experience that I've had, I've been screwed over, I've been this, I've been that. I've had my feelings hurt, my heart broken. There is somebody else who has been through things a million times worse than me.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean,
so it's up to me to find the goodness in humanity. And every time I see something that just makes me question it, I see something much greater that makes me appreciate it. And at the end of the day, people are going to have to remember. You see, we can argue about race all we want to, but what happens when a different species makes themselves known and they say, well, we running this. Well, it's going to be too late then to want to work together. They done already took over. They've already come and colonized. They've already utilized the resources. So what can we do together as humanity? Because that's what it is. It's hue. Different levels of hue, but we're all under one umbrella. We're not mankind, not kind of like a man, because that's a whole other thing in itself, but we are human.
Now, I have a question. I mean, because I really believe that that human beings are symbiotic, which is why even though in my own head scratching desire to be completely isolated from all human beings, I just can't do it because humans are symbiotic to each other. So that's why I would never be completely isolated, especially what I do on my website. But I want to talk to you about that because, I have, we're friends on Facebook, and I got, people there in my secret group, Freedom Like a Shopping Cart. And the idea of the racial questions is what is always on their minds. And I've just given up on that concept because I know that they will never stop thinking about it because they've been so conditioned to do so. And one of the things they keep yelling about is white genocide. And, people are being wiped out by Jews, or, we're not a big number enough as we used to be. I mean, what do you think about all that? Because I have a different take than you. I don't know. We probably have the same take on it as you do. But what do you think about? What do you say as an African black woman about this whole white genocide thing? Like, do you think it's real, or do you think it's just overblown to an extent?
In my opinion, I don't. There will never be a white genocide.
Okay. Yes.
And the reason I say that is because you're not white. You just have less melanation. So even if you come back and you re-strengthen your DNA with somebody who genetically is dominant, and you mix with that genetically dominant human, you've only strengthened your bloodline, and you've only strengthened the genetics. So, the two of the blackest people in the middle of the African desert can have come out with an albino child. There will never be a white genocide because there is no white, just like there is no pure black. You have very, very heavily melanated people, and I just say black for sake of argument, sake of conversation. So I'll use these terms interchangeably. But when you have heavily melanated beings that can produce other melanated and less melanated beings. Like, I mean, you can't because and that's the problem. It's not a race. White is not a race, just like black is not a race. Human is the race. Now, if you're worried about color, get over it. There's so many, literally every color from Casper all the way down to Wesley Snipes is covered. There will never be a lack of any of it.
Because my take on it is that is this one. I actually believe it's actually a form of white supremacy, to be honest. If people believe in such a thing, because they're concerned more about their own outcome versus everyone else. And I always tell them, let's say that white genocide is real, right? What about those who are non-white who are also suffering? Like the case of the migrant situation, yes, which I believe that they actually are migrants who actually are who are victims of these wars that these same quote unquote white governments or Jewish, they're really Jewish governments, but that's a different story in itself, produce, and it creates all these real victims, and they're the ones who literally have nothing, and they're worried about losing maybe losing their country, versus people who've lost everything, lost their families, their property, their home. They have nowhere to go to.
I mean, if you really want to get into it, we've lost the whole race, not a race, but we've lost the whole sector of our human race, which are the Tasmanian people.
Yes.
They've been wiped out.
Yes, there've been people who actually undergone extinction. So, and the biggest and the biggest thing I argue with them about is when I talk to them, I say, look, okay, let's say that your white genocide is real, right? It's the same people who are complaining about it have no kids. And I'm like, okay, well, you're saying that there are not enough white babies in the world, right? Not enough white people. And yet you're not even trying to reproduce with your own people. And you're going to come to the rest of us to complain about this? When you're not even doing anything for your own people?
Well, I'll put it to you like this, and this is why you have different tribes. Because tribes live differently, and they live according to a code of ethics and a code of belief and a living standard that is applicable to that group.
Huh.
So why not form a tribe instead? Like if you, because I mean, look at when you look at Africa, the tribes there, they all live differently, and they live in a way, and they have culture, tradition, heritage, lineage. They form legacies, and they all live in a certain way. So, and because they believe in a certain thing, unless you're just born into it. But if you believe in something so strongly, form your own tribe. And I'm not saying like a hate group or anything like that. If you believe that, then you need to form a tribe, live according to that tribe, so therefore you can preserve what is yours.
Well, that's what the idea of racial futurism really is, where they would, this guy by the name of Harold Covington, who by the way Jewish, came out and said that why don't we move all us white people over to the Pacific Northwest, but at the same time they're going to make themselves a nice compact target to get wiped out. So, maybe over time they can literally gather together. But let's face it, though. I mean, if you're gonna just do that and you're gonna literally breed within yourselves, I mean, we know, historically, it literally has led to diseases, though, and it leads to more problems. I mean, I'm trying to think of this one condition where hemophilia, for example, that's it. Where the royal family just literally only breeded within each other, and they literally had all these diseases. I mean, that they got wiped out. So ultimately, I mean, nature is going to take its course either way it goes. So I've been telling them, look, like, yes, I know you want to save your people, but let's face it. The human condition is far more important than just the condition of one group. The whole human condition is more important than just the faith of one group. Because one group will not decide the fate for everyone else. So that's what I've been saying, but unfortunately, the people in the group, in my secret group, they just have not been able to get it yet, and I know they probably never will, sadly, because they've been so conditioned on race. You know, I mean, I myself personally, I prefer black girls. That's just my preference. You know, I've been with a white girl, been with a Latino girl, but that's just my preference. It's not because it's just that black. I mean, I'm African. I shouldn't really be with them because my own parents would never approve of that. You know, but at the same time, it's just what I prefer based on my own experiences. You know.
Oh yeah, and nobody can. I think people are just more sensitive and butthurt in this area. You know what I mean?
Yes, especially online dating.
So you're dealing with people who have, they've been broken down mentally through society, and everything that comes with race. So everything that comes with it, you've had people affected at every level, on every economic status, everything. So everybody's going to react to it differently. However, no matter what, you're still looking at a society that, in the end, if we don't get it together, everybody will suffer as a whole. Period. Doesn't matter what race you are.
Yeah, that is something even I struggle with, especially when it relates to that one group of people, the Jews. Now, I mean, for me, I know it's not per se just a Jewish problem. I mean, human beings have let themselves get into the situation where we are literally watching other people die off, and it could be literally solved with more caring aspect to it. But human beings, and I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't believe that we're gonna go back to that where is everyone live for each other, not everyone live for themselves. The whole Ayn Rand, that Jew keeps yelling about objectivism, which is just another way to go against the human being, against the community. And I mean, what do you think about? I mean, like, yes, I rail against them, the Jews, a lot, but at the same time, I also realize that humans are the problem. It's not just one group of people. I mean, they wouldn't have all this power if we didn't let these things happen. If those before us actually fought for the rights of those after them. So I mean, do you have any suggestions that people should do to wake up, per se?
Yeah. Oh, they just simply have to want to wake up. That it's a process. It's either you want to or you don't. I can tell you, I can go till I'm blue in the face and this, that, and the other, and it does not matter if you are ingrained in the system and that's where you want to be at. That's where you'll be at. That's why everybody's truth is their own. What you decide to see as truth will be your own truth. But for those that have that natural spark, that natural curiosity, you have to look into things. One of the biggest things I did was remove the barriers and the limited thinking that I had before. I had to stop saying, "Oh, this is impossible. Oh, no, I don't believe that. Like that could never happen. That's stupid. That's foolish, man. Get that out of here." Because when I stopped doing that and I actually paid attention to the evidence, it was profound. And I said, "Wow. How did I miss all this?" So one of the things you have to do is, first of all, just be open to actually thinking. And when I say open, you literally have to stop before that little thought that forms in your head that's automatically saying why you think this is wrong when they're saying it. Stop for a second, sit back, listen, intake it, and try to understand how that thought process formed from that person. Once you understand how that thought process is formed, it can make you more empathetic, and so therefore you can try to see through someone else's scope. Now, if that information does not resonate with you, just say, "Hey, thank you for the information. However, it's not, that's something I'm going to have to look further into at a later time on my own, because it's still not connecting with me the way that it connects with you."
Yeah, I mean,
never shut down something. Never really truly shut down something just because it sounds different. If you can't sit with it at the time, that's fine. But think about it. If it keeps coming back around and you keep hearing it, it's for a reason. that might be the universe telling you, hey, you need to look into this.
Well, I mean, there are some things I do shut down. And this is probably a fault of my own. I mean, especially on Facebook, people come on my page and they want to draw me into their debates, and I don't do that on social media. I don't debate anything in the open forum with anyone. So like today, this like I think around 7 o'clock, this one dude came on and called me the N word because I posted this meme about the truth about Hitler, and
Mm-hmm.
and by the way I have nothing against Hitler. I mean, to me, he's really was one of the brightest people we had. But they start calling me the N word because they disagreed. I'm like, that's fine. Just delete it and move on. You know, I'm not gonna engage that negativity there. You know, at all. So I mean, there's something I'm close to. I'm not just not gonna even bother going down that path. That's why a lot of times you see me on my page, I would say, you have blocked this person who's already had this experience, and a lot of people laugh about it. I'm like, no, it's not. It's nothing negative. To me, it's positive. I just don't want to deal with you coming and insulting me because you don't like something. That's it.
Yeah, I'm gonna steal that one. That's actually pretty funny.
Well, yeah, a friend, yeah, a lot of people do have that. Carrick Walter says but a lot of time when he blocks them because they unfriend him or something. I mean, like whatever. I mean, in about 2 months, I've lost like 50 friends on Facebook. I'm like, whatever. To me, it's just Facebook.
Yeah, I mean, it's Facebook. It's nothing but a place to network. So most of the people that are your so-called Facebook friends, you would never actually be friends with in real life anyway. So.
Oh no, exactly. Like this Scott Christensen, I got rid of him because he came to my group and he started blocking people because and these people he never even met. So I was like, why do you hate them? They never even talk to you. It's like some kind of like bizarre bipolar BS or something. I'm like, that's completely retarded. And then he was angry at me. I'm like, why? I've been nothing but nice to you. I bought you a freaking Xbox 360 out of my own money. Why are you mad at me for? He's like, I just disagree with you about this. I'm like, okay, but you have to start getting all like violent and crap. So it's like, what's the point? So people just take it too far. It's so sad. So what are your plans for the future, might I ask? I mean, like, do you have any like specific goals? You said you want to go back to school, right?
Yeah, eventually I do, but with the way that I see things now, if I go back, it would be just to further educate myself in very specific fields as it relates to nutrition. So I would be going back to further in nutrition as well as biology and as well as botany.
That's very good because that is a great idea. I mean, I always tell people if you want to make a lot of money in Western society, become a nurse, a lawyer, because there's always going to be people who get sick, always people who always fight among each other, or become a teacher. Well, a teacher not a lot of money, but at least you always have a job. If you want it, you always have a job. So, I mean, and of course, work for yourself. I mean, you don't. I mean, do you also have clients you see? Because you say you do nutrition and you lift weights, so I assume you do some kind of like, training for other people, right?
Correct. I was lucky to have a client of mine meet with me and tell me, that I helped stop the progression of that individual's cancer cells. So I felt great about that. That was one of my defining moments.
Wow.
That's how powerful what you put into your body. It can literally reverse the effects of a lot of things.
Wow, amazing. And of course, I mean, do you recommend people do turmeric and things like that? Because I used to take that for my diabetic condition. And I know it seems to be a very good mood upper as well. Because I used to do that because my depression a couple of years ago was really, really bad. So without relying on Prozac,
I would definitely tell people to look into the different herbs because you have things like turmeric, but when you combine them with other foods, you can actually starve cancer cells. like based on how you even put your foods together, you can actually starve out cancer cells. You can starve out cancer cells several different ways.
Wow.
There's more than one way to do it. But it's a lot of ways in which you can actually starve out cancer cells, because a lot of disease that originates in the mucus. So from the mucus, that's where a lot of this problem goes, and because the body in an acidic state is able to grow it and multiply. So I would definitely tell people, if they want to stay healthy, eat as many clean foods as you can, and don't go on a diet. Just simply make better food choices. You know, if you just want to be just in general health, stop eating processed foods. Like, cut that out, or at least cut it out of most of what you eat. Cut out most of the processed foods. Just get rid of all of that and eat as clean as possible. And then, you know, you're gonna go through withdrawals, because a lot of food has the same effects as certain drugs like cocaine and heroin. A lot of, like, sugar. If you cut out all sugar out of your diet, you will go through withdrawals. Trust me, I did. You'll be craving all types of crazy stuff. So if you just want to be in general good health, and, you know, eat your asparagus, eat your kale, eat your spinach, look into different types of vegetables and fruits, because you don't have to skip the sugar, but the sugar and fruits is going to be better than you going to get some processed sugar.
Oh yeah, definitely. It gives you great energy. I know, that's why every day when I used to go to work, I would have an egg, a boiled egg, and a banana for breakfast. That'll be it right there.
Yeah, and even if you eat, and there's even a way in which you should eat the boiled egg. It should be boiled to the point where the egg is boiled, but the yolk, or the consistency of the yolk, it should actually be runny. And that's the best way for the body to actually absorb that protein. Because the yolk and the egg white have about the same amount of protein in it.
Wow.
But for your body to actually absorb the yolk and utilize it and maximize it, it should actually be runny.
That's something I need. I mean, these are things I really should take advantage of. I've just grown to accept my own fate, and just I'm just ready to get out of the country and live out the last few months of my life really that way. Like, that's.
Well, health is also about mentally. So health is not just about what you eat; it's about where you're at mentally. Because maybe a change in location will spark something in you, and just a different change. Health isn't solely just what you eat alone. It's a physical, it's an emotional, it's a spiritual experience as well.
Wow.
So sometimes you do need all three of those factors to come into play for you to really dive into it and carve out a healthier you. So you'd be surprised what may happen for you when you'd be surprised what may happen for you when you go ahead and you change locations. That's why people take breaks, just to clear the mind. And during that process, hey, there's something you can clear the mind and just automatically feel better. And then when you actually put it in conjunction with the body, it's going to feel even better.
I may go ahead and take you up on that advice, because I may decide just to go out of town and just go to somewhere local, just go to Corpus Christi and spend the weekend in a hotel and just have nothing to worry about but just waking up and just doing whatever, because I do have the time this month to do that, so that'd be something awesome to do. Well, thank you very much, Jackie, for just taking the time to talk to me today. This is really great stuff. You're very knowledgeable about health, and that's what. And these are things people need to know about what they're putting into their body and the effects of it as well. Do you have anything else you want to say?
Thank you guys for taking the time to listen, and I hope you tune in again.
Oh, well, yeah, the YouTube channel just does videos whenever I can. All the website stuff is where everything comes from, and it's crazy. It's crazy. And I know when I get back from my band, I'll be able to post a bunch of my my videos, for sure, my albums, assuming I don't get banned again for the 9th time in the last 14 months. It's I mean, it's crazy. Like this is the only place I get banned is Facebook. That's it. No one else bans me. No one else bans me but Facebook. Instagram doesn't ban me. Twitter doesn't ban me.
That's because you have a more concentrated audience on Facebook, and people report a lot of stuff that they don't like. So it's a culture of, hey, I saw this, so I'm just not go ahead and report it.
Yeah, instead of just scrolling down the news feed. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Facebook always suck anyways. Alright, well, thank you so much, Jackie. You take care, okay? Have a wonderful night, and best luck with everything with your kids and college, and just in life in general.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Henry. And I look to see you more in the future as well.
Yeah, you will. You're freaking well. We're on Facebook together. You're my secret group. You see everything I do anyways on there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Alright.
Make block party invitations.
Block party invitations?
Yeah, they don't post invitations at a block party. Sorry you had this experience.
Oh, yeah. Well, I have over 300 people on my block list anyways. And every single one of them deserves to be on there. Because they all stepped on line. And they all came to my profile. So it's very strange to me. It's just very odd. Like I don't even bother people. So they come and they'll like something instead of just messaging me about it. They just bam have to comment something stupid with an insult. I'm like, that's fine. Block, delete, move on. That's all.
Oh yeah.
All right. Well, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Have a good one.
You too.